So I want to start off this video for apologizing about my voice. I am sick, but hopefully that doesn't impair this video too much. So starting off, we have this equation, f of x equals 3x cubed minus 7x plus 5. And if we have this equation, the question is, what is f of negative 1? So the first thing that we can do is this f of x right here, we can kind of think of this as y instead of f of x. What it means by f of x is that this is a function of the variable x, but for some it might be easier to just think of y equals 3x cubed minus 7x plus 5. And so what we do in order to solve this is we take this value of negative 1 and we plug it in wherever we see x on this equation. So that's going to be right here and right here. So let's go ahead and do that. This is going to be, so then f of negative 1, or remember you can also think of this as y, equals 3. And remember, whenever you're using negatives, you have to put a parentheses around the negative number. And you'll see why in a minute, why that's important whenever it comes to exponents. So 3 negative 1 cubed minus 7 times negative 1 plus 5. So before we start solving this equation, I do think it's important to review the order in which we would solve this equation. So what we have for that, I'll put it here, is an acronym called PEMDAS. PEM, P-E-M-D-A-S. So what this stands for is the P stands for parentheses, E stands for exponents. Let me put that here. M stands for multiplication, D stands for division, A is for addition, and S is for subtraction. So this is the order that we're going to go ahead and solve all equations in if we don't know which function to start with. What you should remember though is that M and D, multiplication and division, are the same importance. You just solve them from left to right. And the same is with A and S, which is addition and subtraction. So here, what we start off with is parentheses, which we have, but there's no function in the parentheses, so we can skip this part. The second part is exponent. So we see an exponent here, and when we have the parentheses, this is saying negative 1 to the power of 3. So this would be the first part that we solve. So we can say 3, and then negative 1 to the power of 3 is negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1, which is just going to be negative 1, minus 7 negative 1 plus 5. So the next step we have on PEMDAS is going to be multiplication. And we see that in 2 steps. That's going to be 3 times negative 1 and 7 times negative 1. So what we do is we just go from left to right. So this is going to be the same as 3 times negative 1, which is negative 3, minus 7 times negative 1. So this is going to be negative 7. So it'll be minus negative 7 plus 5. If this confuses you, or if this is somewhere you normally trip up, what you can do is you can take these 2 negatives and turn it into a positive. So that will be negative 3 plus 7 plus 5. So next in PEMDAS, we have division. We don't have any division left in here. And then we have addition, which is pretty much everything that's left. So we go from left to right. Negative 3 plus 7 is going to be equal to 4. So we have 4 plus 5. Our last step, and this equals 9. So our answer to the equation, or to the question, is going to be f of negative 1 equals 9. And there you have it.